Welcome back to another HSR video. Previously, we had Sampo as a wind DOT character. There's Luca as a physical DOT character, Kafka as a lightning DOT character and DOT team enabler. There's just one DOT character missing, a fire element character that specializes in dealing damage through the burn debuff. Now, she's finally here, Guinaifen. The key section of this guide will talk about whether Guinaifen is better in a DOT team with Kafka, or could independently work as a solo carry. Also, we will compare the damage boost she provides to the team compared to other Nihility characters. Choosing the best light cones and relics are backed by hours of work into spreadsheets. If you found the guide helpful, consider liking the video and subscribe so you don't miss out on up-to-date information. I always read everyone's comments, so feel free to ask questions that were not answered in the video. Without further ado. A performance artist visiting the Xianzhou Luofu. In other words, a street performer. She's chasing a new life on the Luofu when not concerned with food and shelter. Guinevere, also known as Guinaifen, is a 4-star fire character that specializes in applying a strong burn debuff and increasing the damage enemies take through a stackable vulnerability debuff. She follows the Nihility path. Guinaifen is a pretty straightforward character. She can apply her strong burn debuff through her skill or basic attacks. The burn damage scales through the level of her skill. At level 10, this would deal 218% of Guinaifen's attack as fire damage per tick. Through her talent, she can apply a debuff called Fire Kiss at 100% base chance. As long as Guinaifen is active in the battle, any enemy that takes damage from any burn debuff will receive a Fire Kiss stack. Since it can be triggered by any burn damage, this can be stacked faster by having extra sources of burn debuff. At level 10, each Fire Kiss stack increases the damage taken by the affected target by 7%. By default, Fire Kiss can be stacked up to 3 times. Her ultimate has the ability to manually detonate all burn debuffs on all enemies. At level 10, this would immediately produce 92% of the original damage. Naturally, since this would trigger both Guinaifen's strong burn debuff and possibly create more Fire Kiss stacks, it should only be used when Guinaifen's strong burn debuff is currently applied to your enemies. Guinaifen doesn't particularly need an optimized attack pattern for a stable ultimate rotation. You just need to make sure that the enemy is always suffering from the burn debuff coming from her skill. This is where the huge bulk of Guinaifen's damage will come from. Knowing when to spam her skill or basic attack is important. Remember that both attacks can apply her strong burn debuff, but the attack modifier difference is very minimal. At level 10, Guinaifen's skill only has a 120% attack modifier, meaning it only has 20% extra attack modifier compared to a level 6 basic attack. For example, if there's only one elite or boss type enemy, then there's no reason to spam Guinaifen's skill. If there are trash mobs or there is more than one elite enemy, then it could be a good chance to use her skill. To guarantee that Guinaifen's strong burn debuff is applied to the enemy, she needs 67% EHR stats. Don't forget that you can get an extra 10% EHR from her minor traces, so technically, you only need 57% EHR. If you manage to unlock her first Eidolon, which reduces enemies' resistance by 10%, then this lowers the EHR requirement to 43%. Personally, I don't think you need that much EHR. Around 30% would be more than enough. In my calculator, we will assume that she is using an SP negative playstyle. As a damage dealer with supportive capabilities, Guinaifen's best light cone boils down to your preferences. Her best LC will depend on whether you want her to lean more towards dealing damage or supporting the team. Here's Guinaifen's LC damage ranking. If you prefer Guinaifen to lean more towards dealing damage, then her best LC is Kafka's signature LC. Patience is all you need. The speed provided by this LC is converted into an extra turn at a certain cycle count, which makes it pull ahead its competitors. But in a short battle, Good Night and Sleep Well is slightly better. granted that you have extra debuff sources to maximize its passive effect. You might be wondering whether it is worth focusing on Guinaifen's damage-dealing capabilities rather than her support. Well, if we use the mentioned LCs, Guinaifen's individual damage becomes comparable to Himeko's individual damage output. For the most balanced performance, Silverwolf's signature LC is the best option. It provides some EHR stats so you don't need to sacrifice too many substat rolls. With a few critical rate substat rolls and the LC's critical rate boost, it can help Guinaifen produce some random crits. The vulnerability debuff coming from the LC would not only increase her own damage but also her team. I highly recommend using this LC or pulling for it if you don't have it. Her best 4-star LC is Eyes of the Prey. While it doesn't deal more damage than the other weaker options, it has free 40% effect hit rate stats, which means you don't need a single EHR substat. This allows you to focus completely on increasing Guinaifen's own damage. You might be wondering why I did not include the Nihility LC from Herta's shop, Solitary Healing. It is simply not a good LC. It's very hard to maintain the DOT boost since it requires the wearer to use their ultimate. Starting with the Planar set. Space Sealing Station is way ahead of the competition, but if you really need some alternatives, you can use either Pan-Cosmic or Ageless. Aim for an attack rope and fire damage for the sphere. For the Cavern Relics, you can use a 2-piece combination of Firesmith, Musketeer, Messenger, and Thief set. The ideal combination is Firesmith and Musketeer. Use Messenger if you need the speed stats. Thief set is only used as a last resort in case it rolled good substats. Aim for either EHR or attack body depending on the LC you are using. Aim for speed main stat on her boots. When it comes to boosting the damage of allies, nothing beats Silverwolf, so we won't be comparing her to the others. Since Guinaifen's vulnerability debuff can be considered an AoE debuff, the perfect comparison would be against Pela. Pela's ultimate at level 10 reduces the enemy's defense by 40%. If there are no other defense reduction sources, this translates to a 26.5% damage boost. For Guinaifen, if there are no other vulnerability debuff sources, then 3 stacks of Fire Kiss is straight up a 21% damage boost. While Guinaifen loses to Pela when it comes to supporting capabilities, Guinaifen's personal damage is pretty high unlike Pela's. Both can still improve their debuffs through their Eidolons. Pela's E4 could boost an ice character's damage by 41.6%, while Guinaifen's E6 would allow her Fire Kiss stacks to cap at 28% damage boost. Guinaifen still loses to Pela, but remember that Pela's E4 is exclusive to ice characters, while Guinaifen's Fire Kiss stacks works for any element. But if compared to both Luca and Sampo, then there's no competition. These two can only apply their vulnerability debuffs through their ultimates, which means that the damage boost is technically reduced by its downtime. Also, there are strict limitations such as Sampo boost only applying to DOTs, while Luca's boost can only be applied to one target. Both are also unable to rotate their ultimate fast enough to maintain a 100% uptime. So all things considered, this is exactly why Guinaifen is being hyped as both a damage dealer with strong supportive capabilities. I have tested Guinaifen in a DOT team composition with Kafka and in a solo carry setup. I uploaded a showcase for each setup prior to this guide. If you haven't watched them yet, both links can be found in the video description. As someone who tested both team setups intensively, I can say for sure that Guinaifen in a DOT team with Kafka is noticeably better. While both videos show a clutch ending for a 0-cycle clear, my Kafka investment is lower. She only had level 8 traces and was still using a critical build, which is not ideal in a DOT team composition. It just means that there's such a strong synergy between the two. Kafka manually detonating any DOT applied to the enemy means that she can stack Guinaifen's Fire Kiss faster. If Guinaifen has her 4th Eidolon unlocked, she can get much more energy through Kafka's detonations. But of course, not everyone has Kafka. So the question is Guinaifen viable as a solo carry? If she is, then when? While one of my showcases proves that it is possible for Guinaifen to be the solo carry of the team, I would only recommend it if she is E6. Otherwise, Guinaifen with lower investment is better off as a sub-damage dealer with extra support for the team. However, whether Guinaifen is in a DOT team with Kafka or the solo carry of the team, both setup do require some heavy investment. For the team with Kafka, everyone needs to have at least 151 speed, so that they can act 3 times on the first cycle of MOC with the help of Asta's buff. For the Guinaifen solo carry team, she required the help of my Bronya, who is using the 164 speed tech. I will be skipping Guinaifen's Eidolons and team setups because they were already discussed. Overall, Guinaifen is definitely one of the stronger 4-star character releases. Should you try to pull or build Guinaifen if you get the chance? It depends. If you have Kafka, it is almost mandatory to build Guinaifen so you can complete all the DOT elements. Granted that you built Sampo and Luca as well. If you don't have many support characters built, then building Guinaifen can be a good addition to your roster. Just note that she does not hard enable other carries unlike Tingyun or Bronya. She is meant to be a sub-damage dealer with supportive capabilities. Even if her individual performance is comparable to someone like Himeko, you should not expect the same level of performance when considering a full team. DOT characters' damage is backloaded, and their kit doesn't scale well with multiple supports unless we're talking about Kafka. I'm saying this as a warning because you might go ahead and build your Guinaifen, expecting her to perform similarly to a solo carry Himeko and end up getting disappointed. And that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you on the next one.